That's
Now,
the key
here's the
right there.
kicker.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just want to hit that again because I've researched this a little bit. I would love to assume some loans, in Fresno, right? My market. I'm definitely focused on residential because I think, the commercial stuff has a lot of pain coming. So
Yes.
I'm trying to buy singles just like you. I'm all of them you can assume if you're going to be an owner occupied, right? That seems
Yes.
very clear to me. Based on credit
Yes.
conditions and all, you have to qualify, but the assumption is
Absolutely.
there in the boilerplate. I'm
Yes, it is.
hearing that a couple of them may allow investors in some corner cases, which it sounds like you may be in one of those.
Yes. So I will say I did a lot of research because I thought, I haven't really tried to do a loan assumption in many, many years. And the reason most people don't talk about them is because, number one, you can't generally do them as an investor, but we've been in a period of time where rates are going down, down,
Yeah, they're
down. So
going
it's
that
been
way.
better
Exactly.
for me to finance new than ever take over someone's mortgage.
Correct.
So what I did is I started doing some research directly on lender websites that are direct lenders for FHA, USDA, and VA. And
Okay.
what I can tell you is I found very clear underwriting guidelines. So one secret of my success when I'm trying to do agency loans, and every time I do them, I swear, Michael, I'll never do another residential agency loan because the underwriting is brutal for investors whose tax returns change constantly and have depreciation and all kinds of stuff. But I've learned to go to the underwriting manuals of FHA, Fannie Mae, USDA loans, et cetera, because then I can see exactly what their criteria says. And if a
Hmm.
lender ever says, oh, sorry, you don't qualify because you have more than 10 properties, for example, I can go back and say, okay, if you look at your underwriting guidelines in section 10A2, you can
Right.
see that you can't count LLC properties against me, for example. So you can go out and you can pull directly from these agencies what their requirements are for new loans and for assumptions. So
I
I
like
can
it.
tell you with certainty from looking at the underwriting guidelines and talking to Penny Mac, I'll talk about that in a second, that FHA loans and USDA loans, you absolutely will not qualify for an assumption if you're not going to make it your primary residence. So that's the bad news. There's no exceptions. It's one of the checklists that they have on their assumption paperwork. If you're not going to attest that you are going to live in it as a primary residence, then they won't give you the loan assumption. So don't try to go in and buy it and say you're going to live in it if you're not. That's mortgage fraud. You don't want to go to jail. It's not worth a low
Not
interest
worth
rate.
it. Not worth it.
So what's interesting is VA does not publish their
Hmm.
requirements for loan assumptions. I could not find it anywhere. So I
Interesting.
called the VA phone number for customer service. They send you to Penny Mac because Penny Mac is essentially the agency that buys these USDA, FHA, VA loans. They service them. And so
Right.
I called Penny Mac directly because the lender that has the mortgage for the seller didn't know whether I could buy the property and assume a mortgage. They just didn't know the answer. It's not done that often
Right.
that an investor has even tried. So they don't really know the answer. So I called Penny Mac and they looked at their guidelines while I was on the phone. And they said, you know what? We can make exceptions for VA loans because to allow investors to buy them because we want to help facilitate veterans selling their homes,
Yeah.
especially in a difficult market. So while it's no promise, the people that are actually involved in reviewing the paperwork told me specifically that yes, they can make exceptions. So basically, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Hmm.
I've put a property under contract that is a VA loan assumption as an investor who's not going to live in it as my primary home. And I'm going through the assumption paperwork. I haven't gotten to the person handling my assumption yet to be able to discuss the details. I presume that I might get some pushback, Michael, because
Yeah.
again, these lenders aren't used to doing this, so they may not even know what the rules are. But
Right.
I've learned something in my investing career over the last 25 years or so. And that is, I ask for exceptions Always. I've gotten multiple deals done, both agency and local banks that needed exceptions to their rule. For example, buying on an auction website and them saying you cannot finance, you must pay cash. Well, when they've had a couple buyers fall through because they couldn't get financing during COVID, they allowed me to seek a mortgage on the property. So I expect that, it's kind of 50-50 whether I get someone that day that allows me to do the assumption to help out this veteran that's trying to move, that can't sell their property. And I'm very hopeful because I know it's within the realms of exceptions that they will grant, although there is no guarantee. And you may hear different things. If you try to call a lender, they might tell you, oh no, you can't, assume a loan as an investor on a VA loan. I can tell you that that's not really black and white and it's not true. So why not, Michael? Why not try? And
Yeah, I
that's what
think
I'm
you have
doing.
to try. I think you have to try. So